Early August, Lusaka International Airport, Zambia. The morning sun peeked over the horizon, but it did little to soften the chaos gripping the terminal. The line at the check-in counters was far thinner than usual. Passengers stood frozen, phones in hand, not for selfies, but showing each other the policy update shaking the travel world. Visa bond, $15,000. A short video went viral. A woman broke down in tears, ripped up her ticket at the counter. "I can't afford this!" and stormed off. Her panic quickly spread beyond Zambia's borders as hashtags Orgshire Visa Shock and Dodge USA Gate trended worldwide, accompanied by fake evidence and a flood of memes mocking tourists being ransomed just to enter the U.S. Press photos showed empty check-in desks at airports across Africa and Southeast Asia. Anonymous aviation sources whispered that some airlines were temporarily halting certain U.S.-bound routes until things calmed down, though no carrier had issued an official statement. The rumors fueled tourist panic and spooked business communities. The reality? The Trump administration had just launched a pilot program requiring citizens of Malawi and Zambia applying for U.S. tourist or business visas to post bonds of $5,000 to $15,000, set to take effect August 20th, 2025. And that's not all. A new visa integrity fee of $250 will apply to most non-immigrant visa applicants, including tourists, students, and exchange visitors, starting October 1st, 2025. Most of this will be refunded if the traveler complies with visa terms. It's part of a new law signed on July 4th, 2025, aimed at restoring trust in America's immigration system. Specifically, the revived pilot program, first proposed in 2020 but delayed by the pandemic, requires B1, B2 applicants from countries on the high overstay risk list, such as Malawi and Zambia, to post bonds, either $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000, depending on risk assessment by consular staff. The default amount is expected to be $10,000 unless supervisors decide otherwise. Zambia's government has fiercely condemned the move. Foreign Minister Mulambo Haimbe called it an unnecessary financial burden on citizens, noting that Zambia's average monthly income is just $150. Give people clean water instead. Don't charge them for chasing the American dream, he said bitterly. U.S. Tourism industry representatives warned that the $250 integrity fee, combined with the bond, will make America a luxury destination for the ultra-rich only. They also noted that the official B2 tourist visa cost will jump to around $435 starting September 2025. Adding fuel to the fire, the U.S. has also suspended all routine visa processing for Zimbabwe, citing similar concerns over overstay rates and immigration risks, as part of a broader tightening of checks on African nations flagged as sensitive. On social media, TikTok exploded with the tear up the ticket trend. Users filming themselves ripping up U.S. flight tickets on camera. Fake flight information boards circulated, showing all U.S.-bound routes marked with red crosses. Memes spread like wildfire. Want to enter America? Bring your piggy bank? The whole thing? Within 24 hours, millions had viewed the clips. Analysts warned that if this policy expands to more countries, the U.S. could lose millions of tourists, costing the travel, hotel, restaurant, and retail sectors tens of billions of dollars. Businesses might pivot their international marketing to Europe, Canada, and East Asia, regions still keeping their doors wide open. 2 days after news of the $15,000 visa bond broke, the backlash had spread far beyond tourists and the travel industry. Across capitals from Lusaka and Lilongwe to Kuala Lumpur, diplomatic officials spoke out. Zambia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs summoned the U.S. ambassador to demand an urgent explanation, while Malawi issued a formal protest note calling the policy a systemic act of financial discrimination. At the United Nations, a bloc of African ambassadors filed a joint petition to have the issue discussed at the General Assembly. One unnamed diplomat told reporters, "If the U.S. treats our tourists and business people with such contempt, why should we keep our markets open to their goods and services?" In Asia, the ASEAN Tourism Association issued a statement warning of a domino risk if other nations retaliated by adopting similar entry fees. Policy forums began circulating the phrase visa war, a grim shorthand for a tit-for-tat spiral that could choke off global trade and travel. American business leaders were just as unsettled. The U.S. Travel and Hospitality Association held a press conference revealing thousands of hotel cancellations within 48 hours. Long-term group tours from Africa and Southeast Asia had evaporated completely. "We are slamming the door in the faces of international guests," one industry leader warned. "And once they get used to going to Europe or Dubai instead of the US, it will be very hard to win them back." Inside the United States, political reactions split sharply along partisan lines. Conservative Republicans praised the policy as a necessary step to safeguard border security and stop illegal immigration disguised as tourism. A Texas senator declared, "If you can't prove you'll leave on time, you shouldn't be here in the first place." Young Democrats, however, called it a self-inflicted political disaster on the eve of election season. A New York senator shot back, "We are turning America from a symbol of freedom into a private club for the ultra-rich. This is anti-progress, anti-economy, and anti-diplomacy." Evening political talk shows poured fuel on the fire. MSNBC ran loops of tearful passengers at airports under the headline, "The American Dream, Now Pay to Enter." Meanwhile, Fox News paired footage of illegal border crossings with the visa bond announcement, telling viewers, "This policy will help stop this problem cold." Social media remained the most volatile battlefield. On X, emotional interviews with foreign travelers went viral alongside satirical clips mocking the policy. A popular TikToker launched the "Bring $15,000 to America" trend. Participants filmed themselves hauling trunks, suitcases, or sacks of fake cash, chanting, "I'm ready for America." The joke went global, but the ridicule deepened negative sentiment toward the U.S. In the midst of the international uproar, the White House held an unscheduled press briefing. The spokesperson stressed this was only a limited pilot program and would be reviewed in 6 months. But analysts noted that once a policy is in effect, rolling it back can look like a sign of weakness, especially to voters who favor a hardline immigration stance. Behind the scenes, it was no longer just a travel or diplomatic story. It had become a razor-edge political weapon in the race for the White House. In Trump's Florida campaign war room, the atmosphere was both tense and electric. Media advisors argued that the visa bond policy would bolster his image as the candidate who takes a hard line to protect the border, energizing conservative voters in swing states. A border security aide put it bluntly, "Every time the media goes into hysterics over this policy, we score another point." Yet a different faction of strategists worried. They knew that in major cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, where immigrant communities and international businesses hold sway, the backlash could cost them crucial independent votes. An internal memo warned, "If airlines keep cutting flights, we'll be blamed for economic losses and job cuts." On the other side, Joe Biden's campaign quickly turned the policy into a precision attack. At rallies, he avoided naming Trump directly, but repeated a pointed message. America should be a gateway to opportunity, not a toll booth for the wealthy. Pro-Democrat super PACs released ads showing travelers blocked at U.S. entry gates with a deep voiceover, "Do you have $15,000 to buy your way into America?" International media pounced on the optics of an America closing itself off. In the UK, The Guardian ran an editorial warning that the visa bond policy signals an alarming contraction of the openness that once powered U.S. strength. In Japan, NHK aired a special report on middle-class families scrapping U.S. travel plans because they couldn't pay such a steep deposit. In the Middle East, Al Jazeera framed it as financial discrimination, questioning whether the policy was truly about security or simply about filtering travelers by wealth. One commentator asked, "If this is a deposit to ensure visitors leave on time, why not apply it to all countries? The answer lies in politics, not security." Meanwhile, U.S. airlines began to feel the strain. Several reported sharp drops in international bookings on routes from Africa and Southeast Asia. One marketing director lamented, "We're losing millions over a policy passengers see as an anti-foreigner tax." Economic advisors warned the White House that if the trend persisted, the U.S. could forfeit billions in foreign visitor spending, not to mention the ripple effects on hotels, restaurants, and entertainment. But for both campaigns, these losses were just cold numbers. The real battle was over the story being told to voters. Here, both Trump and Biden understood the same truth. The visa bond wasn't just an immigration rule, it was a symbol. For Trump supporters, it represented discipline, control, and putting Americans first. For Democrats, it was proof of a closed-off, discriminatory America out of step with its immigration legacy. The only question left was, which story would win on Election Day? Right after the visa bond policy was announced, immigrant communities across the U.S. erupted. In California's Little Saigon, storefronts hung banners in bold letters reading, "America for all, not only for the rich." There were some small business owners worried their relatives back home would find it far harder to visit, cutting into holiday season sales. In Queens, New York, home to large South Asian and Southeast Asian populations, social justice groups organized public forums. People told deeply personal stories. One Indian mother shared that she had waited 5 years for a tourist visa to visit her child, but now her American dream was shattered because she couldn't raise $15,000. Her story went viral on local news, becoming a symbol of growing outrage. Organizations like the ACLU and Human Rights Watch moved quickly, vowing to sue the federal government, alleging that the policy amounted to indirect discrimination and violated the spirit of equal opportunity. "Money cannot be the sole metric for who steps foot in America," said an ACLU attorney. In the business world, tourism, hospitality, and international restaurant chains also voiced alarm. The CEO of a major Florida travel company reported a 38% drop in bookings from Africa and Southeast Asia in just 2 weeks. "This policy is slowly killing inbound tourism," he warned, "and the ripple effects will cost hundreds of thousands of jobs." Trade associations cautioned that prolonged enforcement would harm exports and international partnerships. Foreign entrepreneurs looking to sign contracts or scout U.S. markets might instead choose Canada or Australia, where visa requirements are far easier to meet. Online, the backlash snowballed. The hashtag #DasherNoToVisaBond was used over 500,000 times in a month, accompanied by countless personal video testimonies. One viral TikTok from a Kenyan student holding a sign that read, "I don't need $15,000, I need an opportunity to study," racked up over 12 million views. Interestingly, the outrage wasn't confined to Democrats. Several Republican lawmakers from states dependent on international tourism, including Florida, Nevada, and Hawaii, voiced concern, urging the Trump administration to weigh the long-term economic consequences. This signaled small but notable cracks within the GOP itself. For the media, it was a perfect narrative moment, the tale of two Americas, one closed off and reserved for the wealthy, and another open, diverse, and welcoming. Both images now coexisted, but which one would dominate depended on how political campaigns framed the story in the lead-up to Election Day. 2 months after the visa bond policy took effect, America's skies had grown eerily quiet. One by one, major international carriers slashed their routes to the U.S. Emirates, Singapore Airlines, Turkish Airlines, and even Japan Airlines all issued the same blunt explanation. Demand has plunged, and operating costs are no longer sustainable. At JFK, international check-in counters were so empty that staff could sit and read books. Duty-free shops, once jammed with Asian and Middle Eastern tourists, now saw only a trickle of European travelers. The International Tourism Alliance dropped a bombshell statistic. Inbound tourism to the U.S. had fallen 48% in just the first quarter of the policy's rollout. Diplomatic shockwaves followed. In Abuja, Nigeria's government summoned the U.S. ambassador to express deep concern and warned of reciprocal entry restrictions for Americans visiting Nigeria. In Jakarta, Indonesia's foreign ministry advised citizens to think carefully before applying for a U.S. visa given the high bond requirements. Several African nations began discussing an anti-visa bond coalition at the United Nations, escalating the matter from bilateral disputes to a global standoff. Inside the U.S., economic alarm bells rang. Las Vegas, a city dependent on conventions and high-spending international visitors, reported a 31% drop in hotel bookings. In New York, Broadway box offices were down nearly 20% without foreign theater-goers. Shopping districts in Miami, Los Angeles, and San Francisco stood without the bustling tour groups from China and the Gulf states. Political commentators labeled it a perfect storm, a PR disaster colliding with an economic gut punch in key battleground states. Democrats pounced, launching a media blitz under the slogan, "America closes the door and pays the price." Their ads cut between empty city streets and a glaring red Visa Bond 15,000 sign. The Trump campaign struck back, hammering the message of protecting borders, protecting American jobs. At rallies, Trump insisted, if they want to come here, they must prove they respect our laws. $15,000 is a deposit on that respect. MAGA crowds roared, while outside, protesters waved placards reading 15K kills dreams. Social media hit peak polarization. Conservative TikTokers posted videos proudly getting their $15,000 back after complying with visa terms, calling it a safe investment. In contrast, viral opposition clips showed families breaking down in tears after being denied visas for lacking the deposit.